Okay. Thank you, Director Gnanapragasam, for joining us as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of Girls in ICT. I'll start off by saying we're so happy to have you, and I'll just jump into the questions. So first off, I would love to hear your perspective on why young women and girls should pursue careers in ICT.
Thank you, Nicole. And it gives me great pleasure to talk to a young lady who's asking me this question as well. Why is it so important? I think that today everything is ICT, and we eat, breathe, and live ICT. And I think even when I'm talking to you from so many thousands of miles across, it's ICT that has enabled us. And it shows that women actually are still very much behind ICT. And it's so important for girls and women as well to be empowered with the knowledge of ICT because it's what during the pandemic we had a wonderful lesson that we learned that everything was online. I'm sure it's the case in every country in the world where children had to go to school online and college students also had to be online. And people like us, we work from home online. And I think most women were also shopping online. Every one of us were practically online. And so it's so important for young girls, especially, to be learning the skill, to be connected, how to use the ICT. And today you're talking about a whole lot of process, not just learning, but also making yourself, your work more marketable or the kind of knowledge that you get from there. So I don't think women or girls should be left out at all from this development that's taking place in the world today.
Yeah, I totally agree. The gender digital divide is something that's very real today. There is less women in careers in ICT, and it is something that we need to work on. As the world has moved in online because of the pandemic, it's not something we can wait on anymore. We need to put our resources, we need communication experts, unions to all come together to really balance it out because women are the future, and we need to do this. We need to work on this. Thank you for your thoughts. I really appreciate them. I'll move on to the next question. That is, what opportunities do you believe exist in the media for those interested in careers in ICT?
I think the entire media that we are talking about today, we're looking at a new digital media as well, right? So, if once upon a time people were consuming media on traditional mediums such as television or a radio set, today we don't do that anymore. We are accessing everything via mobile. And that's how media has grown. Everyone has a mobile device and they're accessing the radio channels or even television, live streaming in their own handphones. So that's how it is. Or maybe consuming media on YouTube or other digital platforms, right? So I think this is so important for ICT and media because media has evolved. And today, for you to be relevant in media, you need those kind of ICT skills. And of course, we need young people who have these skills to come into it. You're talking about video editing. You're talking about things like mobile journalism, or citizen journalism. Today, the pandemic has taught us that we need to be able to work remotely. So if you're watching television or even how I broadcast on TV AIBD from my home, it's basically having Zoom interviews or for our digital platform. So we're talking about remote broadcasting, and that calls for skills in ICT. So I guess that if you're equipped with that knowledge of the information sector or the knowledge or whatever that you learn in the universities on ICT, that's really going to open up the doors for you to work in the media. Because media today is no longer just thriving on the traditional platform, but it is something that's growing and booming with all the new technologies that have come in, the immersive technologies like VR, AR, augmented reality, virtual reality, these things, or AI, all these has come in. And today we're talking about, what do you call that, a kind of, people just popping out of their television screens and that kind of AI technologies. So everything has changed around us. It's become so interactive. So I think people who are going to be in the media in the next couple of years really have to know and be literate, ICT literate. And certainly media has a huge scope for ICT graduates. Yes,
Yeah,
Nicole.
thank you. And as
Mhm.
someone who's interested in pursuing a career in ICT in the future, I can really hold on to those words and I really relate to them because you need to know these fundamental skills. We need girls to like know these things so then they can go find a career, so they can go enter the digital economy, so they can be we can be all on the same level again, which is so important. And what your words actually reminded me of this feature film that I saw I think a couple months ago, and
Mhm.
it highlighted the stories of 9 young women around the globe, and it analyzes the critical role that education played in each of their lives, as well as technology and being exposed to that. So the story that really stuck out to me was this woman from the Sierra Leone chapter, from Freetown, and she
Mhm.
was the first girl in her family to go to school, and she tells her story of how she became a radio host. And because of her schooling, she realized that she had that opportunity and she could enter a career in ICT. So she learned all these fundamental skills. And now she's using her platform to advocate the problems that like real girls face. And she advocates for other girls to go to school and really be involved in ICT. And she really showcases that when you're being exposed to this media and you're being involved in your learning, you can really do anything. Like she has this attitude that is unstoppable, and that she can do anything she believes she can because she's been able to share her voice through this medium. And I think this really exhibits the power that the media has, and that no matter like what you face societal pressures, which she did in this case, because of our family or because of social norms. I think that now that she was exposed to this, she's now pursuing this career in ICT, and I think other girls, like from what you're saying, if they're just exposed to this and they have this opportunity, like really the sky's the limit. And if we can spread that message, I just think that's amazing. Um, I do have one more question for you. And to finish it off, is what opportunities exist in the media for those? Oh, sorry, I already asked you this question. My bad. Um,
It's okay.
what is the
Mhm.
role of media in this mission?
Okay. Before I go on to that, I just want to say that those days, girls were always told to make sure that you were literate, you were able to read and write, right? That was what your probably my parents told me, okay, or the people before me, your grandmother perhaps.
Mhm.
But today we're telling women everywhere to be what do you call that? ICT literate,
Mhm.
right? Because that's what's going to open the doors for you. We're telling women, hey, look, don't miss out on this digital stuff. It's not just for guys. Of course, guys are programmed in such a way that their toys and things that the kids play with when they're young, especially the boys, are always towards thinking skills or some kind of digital device or automated stuff. But we women or girls always play with dolls or some other kind of stuff, maybe a word puzzle. But this is the kind of difference that exists, right? So I think women and girls especially have to be digitally literate, and ICT is so important. Now, I forgot your question actually. Sorry,
It's
Nicole.
more of the role that media plays in this mission, but I totally agree with what you're saying that it's almost not enough to just be to get an education. You need to get a technology education.
Yeah.
You need to know these skills. Like
Hmm.
it's just so important these days. Like it's like think about the meeting we're on. You have to be able to enter, go on a Zoom call, able to write emails, able to communicate. And it's just
Hmm.
like it's like the 21st century version of what our grandparents were being told, like you were saying. I'll go back to the question. It is the role that media plays in this mission.
Media has such an important role to play in this mission because your SDG 5 focuses on this area of connectivity, and so forth. And I think sometimes media is the tool, is the main medium that creates awareness. Now, if you take all the SDGs, so much is being done by the United Nations, so much is being done by the International Telecommunications Union, with programs like what you're involved in, Equals, Giga, so many new projects that the ITU has undertaken. But these things need to be highlighted in the media. And for instance, AIBD is an organization that deals with 100 over media, radio and television, as well as people in the technology area, the immersive technologies and so forth. So they are also with us. So what we see is media is so powerful. It's the enabler, and media is what can actually tell people, hey, look, this is important. And I think during the pandemic, media has played such a crucial role. The traditional media, especially, so they were talking about what's happening in the world, how to communicate COVID-19 information to people. So basically, it's a tool for information. And of course, ICT helps that process, right? It helps media in that process to disseminate the information as quickly as possible. Today, we're talking about infographics in media. Because we know that sometimes nowadays people can't even go out to do a shootout. For instance, you and I are on Zoom, but we can't just be staring at each other's windows. We need to make it a bit more exciting. So this is where we have infographics or digital graphics that come into play. And so I think media is basically the medium or the channel that actually shows how to go on, how to go forth, how to go in front and just do it, right? And I'm not just talking about media as radio and television. I'm also talking about social media. I'm talking about digital platforms that are there, right? And I was, as a media person, right? I'm a media passionate person about media, and I've been in the development of media for many years. But what I see is this pandemic has actually taught us how vibrant media has become. So if you look at certain countries, like India and Bangladesh, Nepal, these countries have community radios. And community radios are actually disseminating information on cybersecurity, for instance, information on, how to, several information. It could be on radio, right? And some of them are now going on YouTube platforms as well. So media is so important to create that awareness. The world can achieve. A person goes to Mars, but who's going to highlight that for you? If it comes out on social media, chances are people might say, okay, is that doctored? Is that even real? But if it comes out on your national television, on CBC, you probably go like, hey, that's real. So there's a lot of believability about radio and television. It's still there. And so I think media is such a important tool, important medium, and it really could do with a lot more boosting. And it is actually moving on into that era of ICT in media development. Nicole, thank you.
It is. Thank you. And yeah, media can take us to a new level. It has the power to empower audience, educate audience, inspire audiences, and really also if we're circling back to girls in ICT, it has the power to connect girls with limited technology through access and a medium that they trust. For example, community radio, like you mentioned. And I think that when we put all these things together, like the radio unions, like the Asia Pacific Institute for Broadcasting Development and others, and radio communication experts, I really do believe we can come together and we can build brighter digital futures for not only girls, but for everyone, when we can really harness the power of the media and the great things that it can bring in our lives. So to close out, I want to say thank you so much for your insights, and to everyone watching. If you want to continue the conversation, please follow the Girls in ICT hashtag. And thank you so much again, Director Gnanapragasam, for your time.
Thank you, Nicole. It's been wonderful talking to you, and you're very inspiring as well. So I hope more young people are inspired by this, and media is such a active field, like you said, engaging, informative, empowering. I think you said it all. And yeah, so for those of you who are aspiring, and wondering where ICT is in media, it is so important because everything that media is today, we are evolving. We say that media is constantly evolving, an evolving medium. So it's so important, and I think vital for supporting all other um, growth that's happening in the world. Thank you, Nicole. All the
Thank you.
best.